I think we sort of covered this. Maybe you can expand on a little more of what industries people are likely to find green jobs. You already said something about it, but can you say a little more about it?
Sure. So this is the whole gamut of industries, from environmental science, the scientists, and natural resource managers, so people who are handling the water, how we're conserving our water, clean air. All of those are green jobs. They're fairly traditional now, although they started in the 70s as fringe, and now they've got the bright spot because they have all the knowledge about how the environment works and how it's all a system. Then there's renewable energy, generating renewable energy. There's infrastructure, so we're looking at how to rebuild our buildings and make them more energy efficient and use our resources much more wisely. Transportation is a huge infrastructure shift that we need to go through. Manufacturing, gigantic, because manufacturing is everything we touch. You know, if you look around your house or you're driving around, anything that's physical had to be made somewhere. And manufacturing is a very resource-intensive process. And we've always looked at manufacturing as you get inputs, you do something to them, you have an output, somebody buys it, and then they throw it away. And that's a very linear process. And what they're saying now is more of a cradle-to-cradle process, where what's waste in one area becomes an input to a new product or a new generation of the same product. And so that transition to the entire manufacturing system is going to be a big, big impact.
Okay. Now you brought along some tips for people that want to get careers in the green space. So I thought we would show the audience this and go into this.
Great.
Get them excited about it. I'm already getting excited for them. All right. So you have two groups of three. First actions to get a green career, you say identify a green niche. So
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
So think about that big pie that I talked about earlier. That is your universe of opportunities. It is impossible to track everything that's going on in every industry to figure out where you want a job. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You need to figure out which pie piece you want to focus on. So that's your green niche. What area of the green economy is going to be the best fit for your skills, your interests, your experience, your education, your passions, and focus in on that. You're going to feel like you're missing something, and that's okay. Just focus in. If you're really meant to be in another industry, you'll still find it as you explore this one.
Would you recommend that people do this sooner rather than later if they have any inklings? Because I heard one of my clients say something like, well, this might be a time to make a move because few people have 20 years experience, but after 5 or 6, what's your sense if somebody has an inkling to do it, is it better now than later? What do you think?
Yeah, and making the decision that you want a green career doesn't mean you change careers today or even tomorrow. It's a fairly long process unless you can leverage a skill you already have. But to identify your niche, and we're going to go through some other steps, but some industries aren't really ready to hire people yet, but you may need to get some education that's going to take you time. You're going to need some other pieces that we're going to talk about in a moment. So there's a little longer tail to build up to being ready to even apply for these jobs. And your client's correct that getting in on the ground floor, there are a lot of opportunities that are a little looser than they are going to be in the future when there are rules and regulations involved.
Yeah, we actually had a guest on the show that said, in this particular economy, there's so many people unemployed. This is a good time to be unemployed doing something you really want so that when it comes back, you're ready for it, whatever.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't apply to everybody. Anyway, second action for green careers is explore the green industry and the field as a whole.
Right. So once you've identified your green niche or your green focus, you want to immerse yourself in that and learn everything that you can by reading, going to conferences, as many avenues as you can understand and take in. You want to get as much information about that industry as possible, because that's how you're going to be able to figure out where your unique skills fit in. And a lot of people turn to career counselors or career coaches to say, well, tell me about what I need to do to get into this industry. And you know, we know a lot as career professionals, but this industry is moving so rapidly that it's important for them to go to the source, to go to the people in that industry and that profession to learn the latest information. Because anything that's on the web, unless you're reading the most up-to-date blogs has the chance of being outdated completely because things are changing that rapidly.
So they need to go to your website and your blog, which we're showing periodically, right? Because you'll
Absolutely.
keep them up to date.
We are keeping them up to date, yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right. Oh, and I guess learning the jargon would be huge too, right? So even if you're outside the field, sounding like you're part of the field, right?
Yes. Yeah, so when you're writing up your resume, you need to be able to translate what you've always done into terms the new industry is going to understand. And when you're interviewing, you need to sound like you understand all these green terms.
Yeah, that's a basic thing in coaching. Build a green network.
Yeah, well, we all know it's getting hired is in who you know, right?
Or who you can get to know.
Or who you can get to know, right. And there's the traditional network that anybody who's job hunting is going to be able to find through networking groups and such. But it's the green network, the underlying green network in your local area. It's the people who are passionate about the green movement that are already tapped into this green network of companies and players and experts, and they will be able to connect you up with the people who know about the green job opportunities much faster than your general job search group.
So do they actually, are they more like SIG groups, special interest groups of existing professional associations, or are there associations now that are focused on green technology as a whole and that people could seek out
both.
Actually the meetings?
Yeah. There are both. There's also green networking groups. Greendrinks.org is...
Green Drinks?
I'm serious. They meet once a month in a local drinking establishment. So you have to be 21 or older or whatever the drinking age is. But
I just barely make it,
and they meet socially and get to know each other, and the whole focus is on people who are into the green movement and sustainability.
Are they only allowed to order green drinks?
No, I don't think so. But those groups literally meet all over the world.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so
greendrinks.org. You can.
Does your book or your website have some of these places to go?
Yep.
Okay. So we have another graphic, which is more action. This is more of the same. You say be a pioneer.
Yes. So we haven't really talked about this, but the green economy, this new layer of the economy that's starting, we're just in the earliest stages of a new industrial revolution. There are several. Al Gore talks about this. Thomas Friedman talks about this, that we're just at the earliest stages of a complete shift in how we do business. And as a result, not every path is clear-cut. You know, there are no career paths yet. A government organization, ONET, which you're no doubt familiar with, has just put out its first descriptions of green careers, green occupations. But up until now, you know, I've been doing my business over 2 years now, and this week, that news came out that they now have those green occupations listed on the site. So it's still a work in progress, and so people have to have that pioneer spirit. They need to be creative. They need to be determined. They need to really pick themselves up and push themselves forward, even when there are blocks, and they need a little creativity to find the path that they want to be on.
So even though they're pioneers, is it possible for them to build a thread? Like you said, you were interested in ecology in the day and all that stuff. So say somebody was a geologist or something, and they had this interest in the past, and now they want this. They're a pioneer, but they can build a story of connection like they've always been interested in it, and this is not that.
Right. And I'm saying the new economy is this new industrial revolution. It's going to take, it could take definitely a couple years, maybe even a decade or two before this new way of working, this clean economy, is really thriving. So we're going to be building, and that means that there are going to be a lot of startup companies. It's going to be a little dicey. It's kind of like the .com boom that we lived through in this area, where at first everybody's sort of scrambling to figure it all out, and then a few players rise to the top, and they're the big players that you want to work for. But between now and then, there's going to be a lot of shifting around, and so you've just got to keep that spirit mindset that this is all new territory. There are no set paths. There are no set rules. You have to go and figure out how you're going to get there from here.